here were E's. And twice they were preceded by B's. And in between there were clusters of seconds. So I said, imagine that this, so I said, imagine this part like a cymbal crash, you know, just percussion. And just hear these two notes. Okay, now I put the cymbal crash in, but don't listen to it as a note. Just hear it like a cymbal, like that. You still hear the tonality? So what I said, these are still tonal because he couldn't take out those tonal elements. He thought he was hiding them, but all he was doing was just coloring over them. So I said this thing, look at, here's all the E's, here's the B's, here's even an inference of a triad. But in between, he would have these harsh sounds, and he thought that covered up the tonality. But I said, replace them with cymbal crashes, and you've got a tonal piece. Schoenberg himself realized this. He said, it was too hard to do this. I keep finding tonal inferences. So he said, the only thing to do is come up with a system that makes me be atonal. So he said, let's line up all the half steps. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, whatever, and let's come up with a set of rules. So once you use a tone, like a C sharp, then you cannot use that again until all other 11 notes in the chromatic scale have been used. So that was what he said. That's why it's called serial, because they're in order. So then you have an order for the 12 tones. And then when you continue your piece, you use the same order. And that would prevent him from emphasizing one note more than another. Although it didn't. He had to stop after a while and say, well, no, because these 4 notes sound atonal. But if you go, then you hear it. So he said also maybe rhythm. You have to watch the rhythm, that you're not making one note too long, that people begin to hear it as a tonic pitch. So after, like page 437, him trying to write some songs that were atonal, but you can see at the very bottom, first measure, he's even got an E flat, B flat, E flat in the left hand. So he's inferring an E flat major triad there.
With a G natural.
Yeah. But it's just, it's hard to do. The same way, I can remember saying, you know, if you go to a piano and you just randomly play notes, sometimes I'd make a chord. You know, I'm trying to make a cacophony, but I play piano enough that my fingers just make chords when I go like this. So I actually have to stop and say, no, don't make a chord. Do something else. So that's kind of what was happening. So he came up with this system. And he had a bunch of rules for it. So if you look at page 439, it's the famous setting of poems called Pierre Lunaire. It's a series of poems about someone who goes crazy. So it was perfect for atonal music. But you can see the cello. He would label these. Schoenberg actually labeled them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. But later they found that for purposes of finding variations on this, it would be easier to start the first one, call it patient 0, 0 instead of 1. We'll see why in the table.
What do those X's mean?
Oh, that's Sprechstimme. Schoenberg, it's half singing, half speaking. So you estimate the pitches, but it's more speech than singing, but not pure speech. You might go, Schmerzen auf den allgemeine Wehr. So it's almost like I'm speaking, but you hear me go up and down, but I'm not singing. It's not Sprechstimme is called speech singing.
So people are talking with notes.
Yes. A lot of composers pick that up. There it is at the page 440, Sprechstimme. An approximate pitch of a spoken word. so it's just approximate. So he invents this 12-tone row. There's an example on page 441, the Fünf Klavierstücke, 5 piano pieces. This one's a waltz, but you will not want to dance to it. I think this is on the CD.
Now he's not counting if you use the enharmonic?
No, a C sharp and a D flat are the same thing. So as far as the accidental, he just writes whichever one's easiest for the performer to play. So once you have a C sharp, you can't have a D flat until it's the C sharp's turn. I don't have a number on this one. Oops. I don't have the number on this one, so I don't know which number to bring up. But page 442, these are his rules. Pitch class means E sharp, F, and G double flat are all the same pitch. So it doesn't matter how you write it, they're all considered the same. To order numbers, the location of a given pitch class in the row. So 0 to 11. The pitch class number, that would be the distance in half steps. And then he has a series of rows on page rules. On page 443, his string quartet. There's the row: D, C sharp, A, B flat, F, E flat. He bases the whole thing on this row. And as you can hear, it's not supposed to sound tonal. There isn't a note that's emphasized. But underneath it, you can see the numbers. 0. What he does is he takes across the first violin 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but then he takes 3, 4, 5 and makes the first harmony with that, and then 6, 7, 8 is the next beat of harmony, and 9, 10, 11 is the next beat of harmony. So he's overlapping the rows, making harmony with it. On page 445, once you pick a row, his rules say that you could play it backwards, you could invert it, or you could turn it upside down. So this chart is how you would come up with the different versions. So the original row would be P0 across, and then P1 is the row transposed up a half step, and P5 is transposed 5 half steps, until you've transposed it to all the different half steps. And then if you read from the top down, that's all of the different transposed inversions. And if you read it from right to left, that's the retrograde, that's it backwards. And if you read it from the bottom to the top, that's a retrograde and an inversion. So the idea that you're just doing the same 12 tones over and over again, he's saying, no, there are a lot of different possibilities you can transpose it, as long as once you get an idea, it's the same, you're not repeating the notes. These are, of course, pretty hard to analyze. You have to kind of try to trace the 12-tone row.
And no two rows are the same.
They have exactly the same formula, but they're transposed. He came up with the rules. 2 of his students actually worked a little bit more kind of perfecting it. That would be Weber and Baird.
Also